The virtual campground is a community of RVers. We gather around the campfire to share stories, information, and travel tips to help you on your next adventure. Welcome to the virtual campground. We are coming to you from Cape Blanco State Park in Oregon, not too far from Port Orford, Oregon.
Very hard to say.
Yeah, so it's the southern Oregon coast, and it is stunning. And our high today was around 62 degrees, and it's almost July.
That's mean. Don't tell people that. People are suffering across the country.
This is our spot. We have this lovely little cove to hang out in, so it's been lovely.
It's very private. It's lovely.
Yep.
And one of the things we're going to do while we're here is a couple of hikes, because we like to hike when we're in new spots.
We do.
Tell me, what do you think is the difference between a hike and a walk?
Well, I think of a walk as more paved, more manicured, less wild, and generally flat. Not much of a challenge, so to speak.
Most outdoor adventurists would agree that hiking is probably going to involve some elevation, definitely out in trails more and in nature. So hiking actually beats walking as far as calories, just because you are usually going up a steep incline. Plus, you get the benefit of the whole. I mean, you get benefits from both of them, obviously. Right. You get that benefit of being out in nature, which helps lower your stress levels.
All right, go hug a tree and stuff.
Yeah. Are your stress levels really low right now?
They are.
We're
standing in the middle of nature.
That's right. So that's probably the biggest difference is the incline and the ruggedness.
Yeah.
So we probably take a lot of walks.
Yeah, we certainly do. I mean, when you're in a campground, you want to get out and just take a walk around. Even here, there are some neat trails that are inside the park, and they're not necessarily challenge hikes or difficult.
But we are finding a few hikes.
Yes.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about our hikes in a little bit. But there are basically three kinds of hike. There's the day hike, which is what you and I mostly do. There are the peak baggers, I think they call them, which is essentially the hiker that goes out and wants to bag a 14er or whatever summit.
Tall mountain, right.
Exactly. And then there are the people that do the long distance hike, which one of the things here in this park is you can actually walk a little bit on the Oregon Coast Trail, which is a long distance hike. Some of the other long distance hikes.
Pacific Coast Trail.
Yes.
There is the Appalachian Trail.
The Appalachian Trail.
The Continental Divide Trail.
There's lots. And we happen to know somebody who did the Appalachian Trail.
That's right. We do.
We talked to him. Now, in fact, all of our hikes are day hikes. And so I would say we have different categories of hikes.
Yes.
We have challenge hikes.
Right.
We have photography hikes. And then we just have hikes that are for fun or enjoyable. Our favorite hike, the one that ends at the brewery.
That's right. All hikes should end at a brewery. Exactly. I don't know why they don't, but they should.
We did find one up in Michigan. What was it? Telquama? Something like that, Paul. They did actually have a brewery on
in
site.
The state park.
In the state park.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But we unfortunately came back too late from our hike to enjoy it. But the theory is really good.
The theory was good. And of course, we can always end our hike at a brewery by just
driving which we did the other night. Yeah,
yes, exactly. But so let's talk a little bit about some of our favorite hikes in these categories. So let's start with challenge hikes. Now, you personally have set a challenge to do challenge hikes.
Right. What I'd like to do is if we're going to be in a place that's beautiful and has some really nice hikes, then I want to try to find something that's going to push me a little more than average.
Right.
Just to get me out. A lot of times those longer, more beautiful hikes take you to places that are beautiful to photograph.
Absolutely. So it works out kind of for you both in all of them to be good photography and a challenge. Your challenge hikes are usually a little more challenging than I can do, but I have my own degree of challenge hike. But what would you say has been your favorite challenge hike that you've done?
I would have to say Angel's Landing in Zion National Park.
Impressive.
Because, it was just a stunning hike and very challenging. It's the type of thing where if you're going to do it right now, it's a timed system, I believe. You have to actually reserve a time to do it. But then I just got up super early and hit the trail before sunrise. It is very steep, but it's gorgeous views down the whole valley of Zion National Park.
What do you remember the elevation?
A little over 1,800 feet of elevation. And there's something there called Walter's Wiggles. That is nothing but very quick, switchbacks that take you up vertically very quick. And then
And then down vertically.
oh yeah, down. That's sometimes the hardest part. But it's out and back 4.3 miles, so it's pretty compact. And at the end of the hike, you are using a chain to assist you up a very narrow area on the side of a very narrow cliff with very sheer drop-offs.
It sounds so much fun. Oh, why didn't I do it?
So, but it's it's a gorgeous hike, and it was beautiful photography, and we had a good time.
You did another hike in Zion too. That was a challenge.
Yes, this was the subway. So whereas Angel's Landing went vertically up, subway, you started your hike and went straight down into a canyon. Then you walked along a river for quite a while, and then you made it to something called a subway, which is just an area that's been carved out by lots of fast water, and it looks like you've walked into a subway. It's gorgeous. It was only about 2 miles, but it was extremely steep up and down to get out of that canyon. Now that I'm thinking about it, it was a long hike, because once you get down, you walk a long way along that river. It was a little over 9 miles.
But the elevation is about 1,300
Mhm.
elevation. Is that all at the beginning, or is there some
Well,
during the 9
no,
mile
there's
walk?
there's mild elevation gains during the hike.
Okay.
It's almost all getting down to the canyon floor and then getting back up. And that's the hardest part, is you've been hiking all day, 9 miles, and then doing photography throughout some of that, and then a lot in the subway. And then you're coming back out of there, you're pretty tired. And one of the things I read was on that one, just a little tip, people as they're coming out will lose their bearings and not be able to find the path up. And they'll just keep walking down the canyon and not realize that they've missed
more
it.
tired.
And yeah, exactly. And they get more and more tired, and then they circle back and they just can't find the way out.
So in the Zion, I did a challenge hike that was challenging for me.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, hardly any elevation gain, but it was around, I don't know, 2 miles long,
Mm-hmm.
but it was through water.
Yeah.
So the Narrows.
That's a challenging hike, because you are hiking through a lot of water that's moving pretty quickly.
Yeah, sometimes people do the Narrows and the water might be up to their knees. The water was more up to my hip. And several times it was up to my neck because I fell. So, and then later I realized part of my challenge was also I was walking with a lot of water in my little overalls.
Once you fall, your water gets all in the
so I had
overalls.
extra weight I was carrying around. So it was really fascinating to be in there and on that. And some people were doing it without the waders, and of course they didn't fall. But there's some slippery rocks, so that made a challenge. And I did it, and I was very proud of myself.
that was a tough hike, and you had to rent the overalls, the waterproof
and the
overalls,
stick.
and the hiking
you
stick.
Absolutely have to have a stick. I would do it again now that I know it better. I think sometimes that you want to almost do it again because now you know better.
Right. Yeah. The first
time.
one's sort of a scouting.
Yeah.
Where okay, now I figured this out. I want to go again so I can enjoy it more, or maybe go deeper into the hike or whatever.
The other challenge hike we've done recently that was a huge challenge for me, and it was sort of a surprise challenge hike for both of us, I think, was the Windows Trail at Big Bend.
Mm-hmm.
And I say it was a surprise because we really didn't intend to do that hike. We just couldn't get into Lost Mines.
Right.
So we went and did Window Trail, which was 1,000-foot elevation, but most 900 feet of it was at the very beginning down, and then of course that meant at the end 900 feet up. It was more challenging than I intended, and it was also got kind of warm by the time we were coming back, so that was part of it as well. But significant payoff at the end.
Yeah, gorgeous, very unique. That sort of end to a trail, you just don't see that. You're basically at the top of a watershed. It's a pretty incredible trail. The downside is coming out of that. You've spent all that time getting there, and then when you turn around and come back, it's all totally exposed, and it's desert, and you're getting lots of sun, and it's a challenge.
It is from that perspective. So you definitely want to go early. Definitely want to take a lot of water because it's very, very dry in Big Bend.
Mm-hmm.
Be prepared for a little bit of rock scrambling there at the end.
Yep.
I mean, not bad. The other helpful hint is most of the gain of elevation is from where you park up by the visitor center to an area that there isn't actually a campground. So if you want to avoid about 900 feet of elevation.
It wasn't that much.
So those were our big 4 challenge hikes. We've done others. You've done others. Some of them also then become photography hikes.
Right. I mean, that's really where it starts. So the Mist Trail was one that it's an extremely popular trail.
Yosemite.
Oh, in Yosemite National Park. It's Vernal Falls, Nevada Falls, a lot of vertical climbs, 6.4 miles, 2,200 feet of elevation gain. That took me virtually all day. It was a Yeah, very strenuous, difficult hike for me, but gorgeous. Yeah, beautiful views. The Robert Jones Trail, I believe, you take that coming back because it's a little easier on your knees. And but yeah, highly recommend that trail. But start very early in the morning. I made the mistake. We were about an hour away from Yosemite, and so I got a little bit too late of a start. And by the time I got to Yosemite, the parking lot that you were supposed to park at for that hike was completely full, and cars were just circling. And
That
I
always makes your
parked,
hike so much longer.
right, I parked a mile away to get started, so I had to walk a mile away to get to the parking lot, then up to the trailhead, and then start your hike. So that added a little extra that I didn't need to.
Yeah. And then we did do Lost Mines. We did end up going back and going there exceedingly early. Like we got there in the dark. We saw sunrise on that hike.
Yep.
I did about half of it, and that has a huge elevation gain right at the beginning. It's a really steep beginning, and this again is back at Big Bend. But you went on and did the full hike.
Right. I've done up to that saddle, which that saddle's about 1 mile in, and if that's all you want to do, that's really gorgeous. You get to that saddle, it's beautiful views, and then as you're coming back, beautiful views on the way back down the trail. I highly recommend that part of it. 1 mile, a lot of elevation gain in that 1 mile, but it's really nice.
Overall, it has about 1,000 feet of elevation.
Yeah. And I've been to that saddle before, and then I wanted to go do the full trail, get to the summit, so to speak. And so I continued on past that.
So I probably went about halfway, 2 miles. You went the full way, 4.8.
Yep.
So there and back. Highly recommend doing it at sunrise. One, it has a very small parking lot.
Oh yeah, the parking.
So
is
you
incredible.
really want to make sure that you can get a parking spot, or you'll be doing a very large hike up to it from other parking lots. Sunrise is a gorgeous time to do it. So the sun comes up and it just starts to color those rocks in the canyon, and then you turn around and you can look behind you as well, and it's just really beautiful.
Yeah, both from a photography perspective and a parking lot perspective. Early in the day is absolutely the best time to do that. And when the first time we tried that hike, we drove in and we thought we were getting there in plenty of time.
Oh yeah, we were there at 7, but
yeah,
no,
the sun was
too
just
early.
starting to rise, and the parking lot was packed. And then there's a little tiny little auxiliary parking lot about a quarter mile up the hill, and it was packed. So that's when
why we ended up doing
the windows trail. We left even earlier the next morning. We got there way before the sun came up, and we got the last parking spot on that day. The moral of the story is start that hike early for several good reasons.
Yes, absolutely. And coolest. Another beautiful hike we did for photography was in Olympic National Park in the Mary
Mur Falls Trail. It's not too difficult. It's just a beautiful hike through the rainforest and to a really nice fall.
The fall is probably the hardest part of that hike because you have stairs to go up and down, but you could of course not do the stair part of it. I think it's less than 300 feet in elevation, and it's about a couple miles long. So there's some beautiful hikes in Olympic National Park, and that was probably our favorite. It was nice and cool, and it was the rainforest, so really lovely.
There are some very difficult hikes in that park, but we didn't do the really difficult ones. I did another one that was on the other side of the park, again in the rainforest, but pretty flat and easy to walk around with some beautiful photos.
One that was sort of challenging, was half challenging, but it was beautiful, was Watkins Glen in New York.
Yeah. That's
Watkins Glen State Park.
That's an interesting trail because the Gorge Trail is paved, manicured, but there are lots of steps, lots of steps, and and it is stunning from a photography perspective. If you like to take pictures, then it is a must-go visit. But a lot of steps. You are basically
stairs, not just steps, but like literally they've cut stairs in, so you're going up and then down, and then up and then down.
Yeah, it's constantly
so the elevation gain is less than 500, but it's just a lot of up and down. So if your knees are kind of bad, and it is stairs, not just. I mean, there are some places where it's more of just an incline kind of trail, but a lot of it is stairs. So if your knees are bad and stairs are hard for you, it would be a hard trail. From a scenic perspective, I would say, because you can, if you're not staying in the state park, you can park down by the visitor center and hike up and then back down. It's probably more scenic on the way up.
Yes.
Because you're looking at what's really pretty. If when you're coming this direction down, you basically have to turn around, but you'll be going back up.
That's right.
We've done a lot of other hikes that have been beautiful. Lots of waterfalls.
Yeah, I like to chase waterfalls.
You do like to chase waterfalls. Some lighthouses, like the one in Acadia. That was a really easy little hike, but beautiful lighthouse. So we've done a lot of those kind of things that are, from a photography perspective, Lovely. Some of the other hikes we do are just for fun, and some of my most enjoyable have been in the Grand Tetons.
Mm-hmm.
Probably two of them that I can think of were, one was at the Phelps Lake, and we left out of the visitor center near there and went up and hiked up this, basically through a field, a meadow, and then you come around and then ta-da, there's this beautiful lake. So that was really fun. Did that with our two sons, had come to join us. Another time, Jason and I and his friend went and did the Jenny Lake. Jenny Lake is interesting because you can take a boat across and cut out quite a bit of the hike, and then you start up to Inspiration Point. And we had taken the boat and then did the Inspiration Point. The boys went past Inspiration Point. By the time we got to Inspiration Point, I was really exhausted. So I rested there with the chipmunks and all the other people having food.
Nice.
So that was lovely. And then another one that I remember that was really great was when you and I were in the Sequoia National Park, Kings Canyon area.
Did a couple things. We did Trail of 100 Giants. Was that in that area?
One. Yep.
So that was, I wasn't expecting that. That's a little off the beaten path, so to speak. And
not officially in the national park.
Right. It was a really simple walk, not a ton of elevation gain, but a gorgeous little loop around some amazing trees.
Amazing trees. The same as when you went into Sequoia and you could walk, do a small hike, basically to General Sherman tree. And the amazing thing was for us on both those hikes, they were lovely hikes, but it was during COVID, and we basically had the trail to ourselves.
Yeah,
there
not
was
many people
no
at all.
one there, and the light coming through the trees was just really very pretty.
Yeah, and both those I would classify as less hike and more walk.
We did do another hike that went out to the Grove, the Redwood Grove, and that one was a little bit more of a hike because that did have elevation. We did have to do some scrambling across rocks.
Palo Duro Canyon was our first hike. We were very new to the RV world.
We weren't even full-timers yet. We
weren't
still had a house.
Oh, that's right. That was
we
our
were in the
practice
little
run.
pod.
Oh, I forgot about that. So we were doing a practice run, and this was our first overnight stop, if I recall, coming into Dallas. And then I had done the Lighthouse Trail before, and I wanted to take Deborah on it. So we went and did the Lighthouse Trail. Now, the Lighthouse Trail is not a whole lot of elevation gain, but it's a really cool trail, very desert, Palo Duro Canyon. If you haven't been, I highly recommend it.
Definitely
really cool.
It's a
small Grand Canyon, really cool trail that takes you to this hoodoo. You can scramble. We have a picture of Deborah at the base of the hoodoo. She scrambled up the rocks and got up to the base of the hoodoo. So really cool hike, highly recommended. Takes a little bit of time.
It's a little bit long. It's
definitely,
almost 6 miles long.
Definitely want water. Lots of water.
Or on a cool day.
Yeah, because it will get absolutely blasting hot in that canyon. And the first time I did it to get some sun set photos. So I was hiking back in the dark. And just a little tip, during the summer.
Don't go back in the dark.
Yeah, don't go back in the dark. My headlamp stopped working, and I couldn't get it back on. Fortunately, it was a full moon, so I had light. I could see, but I lost the trail. And so I'm kind of just wandering around trying to find the trail and I'm not going to lie to you, get a little panic. And there's a play that takes place in the amphitheater in Palo Duro Canyon. Now, it's called Texas, about the history of Texas. And it's miles away from where I was hiking.
So that was...
so that's just a free tip.
Don't go in the dark. Okay. Well, we could talk on and on about lots of hikes. And in fact, some of the hikes that we're planning on here. And maybe we'll do that in another episode. But for now, we just want to share these hikes with you and hope that you will tell us in comments if you have one that you think we should add to our challenge photography or just for fun hike.
Yeah,
and we hope to see you out on the trail.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Until we see you in person, we'll see you out on the trail or in the virtual campground.
See you around the campfire.